Hi there. Can anyone hear me? Say hello. Tell me where you're from if you can hear me. I see a lot of people saying hi. Give a shout out to tell us which part of the world you are from. Everyone wants to know. Let's say hello to everybody. I want to welcome everyone to our series of live streaming lessons here on Cambly. My name is Daryl, and I'm going to be your tutor today. To those who don't know what Cambly is, I'll be giving an explanation later on, but it is a great place online to get one-on-one lessons with tutors just like me. And later, I will also be giving a promotion code, so stick around for that. I see someone is from Iran, someone from India. Hello, Iran. Hello, India. Hello, Turkey. Turkey, more India. Good to see everybody. What are we doing today? Today we are talking about the IELTS. To those who don't know, the IELTS is the International English Language Testing System. And basically, it is a test that you can take if you're going to go to a university overseas. It's accepted by some professional organizations overseas. It's accepted by some visa departments across the world. It's a very important test that basically tells whether you can speak English or not. Today, we are going to go through two sections, two very important sections, the writing and the speaking section. I will also give a little explanation of the other sections, but we will focus on those for today. Ooh, I see more people from India, someone from Armenia, someone from Vietnam, Pakistan, Azerbaijan. Good to see everyone. The Netherlands. Excellent. All right, so the IELTS, like I said, is a test. There are 4 parts in the IELTS exam itself. There is the speaking, the writing, the listening, and the reading. And each one, you are graded, and then you get a grade overall. Today, we will be speaking about the speaking and writing parts of the exam. So we're going to jump right in to the speaking. I will be breaking down the different parts of speaking. I will be giving you tips and techniques to make sure that you know what to say. I will give you some examples of questions that come up. I will tell you how to handle them. So I assume we're ready. I see Bangladesh. I see another Vietnam. All right, let's start. So the IELTS speaking exam is composed of 3 different parts. Part 1 is the warm-up section. In part 1, there are very general, simple questions. It may be a question about your hometown, your home life, your hobbies, your family, nothing complicated. I always like to think of this as getting you warmed up for the rest of the exam. Of course, these questions are still important, but part 1 is basically the warm-up. We're going to go through some examples in a second. Part 2 of the speaking is the long speech. Now here, you will be given a topic, and the topic itself will probably include some elements that you must say, and you will get about 1 minute to prepare what you want to say. I'm going to be giving you lots of tips and techniques for this question, because the idea of talking for 2 minutes straight in English can sometimes make people very nervous. And that's not just non-natives, that's natives as well. So I will be going through a lot of tips and techniques for part 2. Part 3 is the discussion. Now in part 3, what you will be given are questions that are going to test whether you can make an opinion, agree or disagree with a subject, and then talk about your opinion. I agree, and these are the reasons. This can also become a discussion between you and the examiner. We're going to go through how to handle these as well, how long you should speak for, and other techniques. So let's start with part 1. Like I said, part 1 is the warm-up. A typical example question that you will get in part 1 is, tell us about your hometown. Tell us about the jobs that people have in your hometown. Tell us about your house, your accommodation. Tell us about the house you would like to live in the future. Now, how do you handle the part 1 questions? Don't get overly complicated with these questions. Speak straight away and answer in a very simple way. One thing that I always like to do, and I always tell my students to do, before you speak, you need to calm yourself down. There is a tendency with any part of the speaking to speak very fast, to want to get it over with as soon as possible. This is a problem because as you speak fast, you make yourself very nervous. And then you make yourself more nervous as you speak faster and faster. So the first thing you must do before you speak is to calm yourself down. A technique I like you to use is to count in your head 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, very slowly, and then you calm yourself down. You are basically making yourself feel that you are speaking slowly, so everything must be okay. And as you speak, I want you to make sure you don't rush through anything. Speak slowly, take pauses. That is very important. This will not only make sure that you sound correct and you pronounce everything nicely, it will also help you to know what to say next. Because you are not rushing through your speech, you are slowly going and you always know what you can say afterwards. So that is the first 2 important techniques. Count in your head, 1, 2, 3, calm yourself down, and then speak slowly whenever you answer a question. Another way you can make sure you are speaking slowly is to always take 1 second after every sentence. That way, again, you are making yourself be slow, and you always know what you can say next. So that is part 1. Simple questions. Let's look at part 2. As I said, part 2 is the long speech. You are given a minute to prepare. And during that minute, I think you should have some paper, a pen, write down a few points on what you want to speak about. Let's look at a typical kind of question and how you would handle it. So a typical question would be, tell us about a special day that you have experienced. Tell us why it was special, who was there, when it was, and what happened. Now, already, the question itself has helped you. It's given you many points that you can talk about. I want to give you some other techniques that can also help. The first one, and a very important one, I want you to have a picture in your head as you speak. This is very, very important. When you decide what that special day is, I want you to have a picture in your head of that special day. I want you to see all the people that are there. I want you to see where it was, what happened. I want the picture in your head. This is important because now, when you start to speak, you are not speaking from a blank space. You are speaking from a picture. That can also make it easier to speak in English because you are not translating from another language. You are going from a picture. Also, as you speak, if you start to feel, I don't know what to say next, you have the picture in your head. You can grab details from that picture and just talk about them. It's a very, very important technique. And also, it will make you feel calm because you've got a safety. You've got something there that you are speaking from. It's a very important technique. Another one is to always, and I'm sure you know this, tell the who, the what, the where, the when, the how. If you can fill in all those details, you will definitely make your 2 minutes. And again, those are usually in the question to remind you, but don't forget them. And some of you may notice that there's one word missing from there, and I put it on its own special piece of paper. Why? Why is a very important question that can help make sure you don't run out of things to say. Because why is the emotion? Why is the reason? Why will tell you it was special because it was my mother, it was my father, it was this, it was that. And from that alone, you can speak for a minute or more. So never forget the why. It is a very important question and a great technique. Another one to make sure that you never run out of things to say are details, details, details. Now you have the picture in your head already. You know what happened. If you start to run out of things to say, grab details. Who else has time to think of what else to say? And we all do this. You will make a mistake. It is going to happen. You will forget a word. You will forget a sentence. You will stumble. You will say the wrong grammar. It's very important to have a technique for when you need to recover from mistakes. I like you to do the same thing I said at the beginning of anything you say. Count 3 in your head. Calm yourself down, because when you make a mistake, there is a tendency to want to speak faster and get this over with, but you can't. You count in your head 1, 2, 3. You start speaking slowly again, and you realize you made a mistake. It's okay. You've calmed yourself down, and you carry on. It's, again, another important element of the speaking. Then, let me see if we have any others here. The next technique that I want to talk about when you're speaking is to make sure that you don't use words that you don't know the meaning of. There is a tendency, again, to think that I should use big words when speaking or writing because that makes it sound like I know English. But a simpler word can sometimes be much better. Explain things simply. If you can't think of the big word that you wanted to say, move on. Don't get stuck on that. So let's look at our example, the special day. What could you say? We could have the special day being a Cambly live lesson. And I would say it happened in my office. I was wearing blue. I was streaming with people from someone else from Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan. I could say that I was talking about all the different techniques. Already, I filled up enough space. So use all those techniques. They are very, very important. The third section, like we said, where is my third section? The third section is the discussion. So here, it's sometimes the most difficult section because you are given an agree or disagree statement. You are asked to discuss something, and the examiner wants to see, can you speak English enough to explain your opinion and prove your opinion? Now with this, with part 3, there is no time to prepare. Why? Because it is a discussion. If you are good with English and able to speak English, you must be able to hold a conversation in real time with someone. That is English. And that's why there is no preparation time for these questions. I would like you to make sure that for each question in the part 3, you speak for about 1 minute. Why do I say that? Firstly, I want you to make sure you don't answer with what your reason. Let's look at a typical example. Easy one. Do you think that it is a good idea to save money? Why or why not? Now, I don't worry about your opinion. Obviously, I think it's a good idea to save money. So that's my reason. But that's not enough to speak for 1 minute. Now I need to give examples. Examples are what are going to help with part 3. So what examples could I give from my opinion that it is good to save money? Well, we need to save money for emergencies. We need to save money for education. We need to save money just in case there's a job loss. And I can give examples of when those things happen. And there's my minute. There's my minute of speaking. So that is the most important technique for part 3. Give your reason and then give at least 3 examples and speak for 1 minute. If there are any words in the part 3 or the part 2 that you don't know, if the question is written in a way that does not make sense to you, please ask the examiner to clarify, what does this mean? What is this asking? Never be afraid to do that, because the most important thing out of all the speaking tips is to always speak on topic. If you speak about other things, then it sounds like you don't know what the question was about. So if there is something in part 3 that you don't know, a word, a phrase, ask and speak on that. So those are all the tips and techniques for now for the speaking. Any questions that we have? I'm looking here. If you have any questions, please send them to us. We'll try answer as many as we can. I'm going to just scroll through our chat and see if there's any questions that have come through. I see people from America. I see more people from Vietnam, Iran, Somali, Thailand. I'm not seeing any questions, but that's good. That means that we are getting our lesson across. Let's look at the next part, the writing. The writing also can be challenging for non-natives because you have to make correct grammatical sentences, and again, you have to prove a point. Now, there are 2 parts to the writing, and it depends really on what kind of IELTS exam you are doing. There is the academic IELTS exam, which has its own task 1, and there is also the general IELTS exam. Let's talk about the academic first. In task 1 of the academic IELTS exam, they are going to give you a diagram, a line chart, a bar chart, some kind of diagram that you have to explain. Let me show you some examples. They could give you this diagram with all the arrows and all the different things, and it looks very confusing. But we're going to discuss how to do this in a second. They can give you a pie chart or several pie charts and ask you to describe it. Again, it looks complicated. And they could give you a line chart. Again, lines, numbers, dates. It seems like it's difficult, but it's not. And we're going to discuss it. So that is all the task 1 of the academic. Task 1 of the general IELTS, which you will take if you do not want to go to university. Depending on your needs, you can take the general IELTS. There, your task 1 is going to be writing a letter, and we'll discuss that. Part 2, or task 2, you can take the task 1 general if it's for certain jobs, certain professional institutions. Always make sure you find out what IELTS qualification is needed for what you're applying for. Now, the task 1 is a letter. They're going to ask you to write a letter, usually to a friend or to a company asking for a job. The most important technique and tip here is to know whether it is a informal letter or a formal letter. If you are writing to a friend, you are writing informally, which means you are not being formal like you speak to your boss. You are not speaking in perfect English and being totally respectful. You are writing to a friend. You can be easy in the way you speak to them. Think about the way you speak to your friends and the way you speak to your boss. That is the difference between informal and formal. So if the question is write to a friend, be informal. Talk about past things you've done with them. Ask how the wife and kids are, just like you would speak to your friend. For the formal job letters, then you've got to speak as though you are speaking to your boss, your coworker, your colleague. You have to be respectful. You are not overly familiar. So always be aware of what type of letter you are writing for the general. Then let's get on to the task 1 for academic IELTS. Now, these different diagrams look confusing, and people don't like writing them because they don't know how to. Let's discuss a simple way that you can write about those diagrams and then apply it to those 3 examples. Remember, they are not asking you to analyze. They are not asking you to interpret. You don't have to say why something goes up. You don't have to make up things like that. All they're asking you to do is to explain what you see. I always like my students to make sure that they tackle one element of the diagram at a time. Let me say that again. Tackle one element of the diagram at a time. Don't speak about everything altogether. Let me show you what I mean. This is dolphins in orange and whales in gray. And it is for the different years 2017 to 2022. So when I say tackle each part of the diagram individually, let's look at bears firstly. That is one paragraph. Dolphins is the next paragraph. And whales is the final paragraph. So we don't talk about all 3 animals at the same time. That's going to be confusing. We tackle one at a time. How do we tackle them? We say exactly what we see. Let's look at bears. Bears starts at about 0 for some reason on this graph in 2017. In 2019, it has risen to 140. In 2020, it has risen to 140. In 2021, it's gone up to 160. And finally, in 2022, it's gone up to about 190. That's it. That is how we describe the bears line of this graph. We would say the population for bears in 2017 is this amount. This rises in 2019 to this amount. This continues to rise in 2020 to this amount. If it decreased, you would say it decreases from 2018 to 2019 for this amount. And finally, you'll say in 2022, the population for bears is at its maximum at 190. That's it. You've read that line for the bears for the years. That's one paragraph. Very simple. Let's look at this for the pie chart. Again, for the pie chart, we are tackling each thing individually. So this is a pie chart of a balanced diet or a diet. So we have bread, milk, food and drinks with sugar, meat, fish and eggs, fruit and vegetables. So to describe this diagram, we would say, this diagram breaks down the percentages of a healthy diet for the following. Bread, rice, potato makes up 21% of a healthy diet. So we're describing each thing individually. So that is the pie chart. And depending on how many pie charts they give you, again, tackle each element individually. And finally, we have the diagram. And you may get a diagram in the exam. Here, you only have to follow the arrows. All you have to do is describe recycling of steel. So we would say the process starts with the collection of various goods. This is sorted by a magnet and taken to the steel slugging department or factory, and so on and so on. So don't look at it as one thing and get scared. You look at each thing individually and you follow the arrows. This happens, then this happens, then this is done, and finally, end products are created. That is the way to handle the diagrams. And finally, our task 2, our essay question. Our essay question. Now, the essay question, like I said, they're going to ask you to agree, disagree, discuss, and prove your point. Now, this is the format paragraph. Your introduction paragraph is going to do 2 things. It is going to explain what you are choosing. I agree. And then you are going to say what the question says. I agree that the internet has had a big impact on the way we educate people in the world. I agree. The reasons for this I will outline in this essay. That is your introduction. Always the same. After the introduction, you are going to do 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph is 1 reason with 3 examples, just like we did for part 3 of the speaking. I'm going to say it again. 1 reason, 3 examples. You don't want to speak about everything in 1 big paragraph. That's confusing. So let's look at our topic again. Do you agree the internet has had a high impact on educating people? Yes. One of the reasons is the ability to have live streaming lessons. This is good because we get feedback straight away, we get questions, etc., etc. So those are our 3 paragraphs. 1 reason, 3 examples. What I also would like you to do is to have 1 paragraph that is a counter argument. A counter argument is a very good essay technique where you look at things from the opposite of your essay. We have been arguing that the internet has had a strong impact on education. That's what we're saying, yes. The counter argument would be no. It hasn't had a strong impact on education for the following reasons. Perhaps we could say that people can get distracted while they're sitting in their homes. They don't give their full attention. A teacher in a classroom might be better. That is our counter argument. And it will show the examiner that you know how to write an English essay. The final paragraph is going to be our conclusion paragraph. Here, you are going to restate, I agree, I disagree, and you are going to restate the 3 reasons why you agree. So I agree, yes, it's had a strong impact on education because this, that, and the other. So the conclusion is, again, rewriting part of your essay. So that is the format, the technique for writing your task 2 essay. Now I'm going to go and look at our chat and see if there's any questions. If you have any questions, now is the time. Please send them through. We'll try and answer them. I'm going to scroll back up. I'm not seeing any questions, but I see a question about grammar or how to make sure that your grammar is correct. Obviously, that is important for writing task 2 or task 1. Obviously, you must check out some of our lessons on grammar. That is the best way. Grammar, we can maybe do a live lesson on, but that's for another time. All right, I'm not seeing any questions right now. All right. So that is the end of our lesson for the day. Like I said, we are tutors here on Cambly. To those who don't know, Cambly is a great place to get one-on-one lessons with native English speakers. And we are available 24 hours a day at the touch of a button. You can find tutors that are for any preference you may have. It could be for IELTS exam preparation. It could be for conversation practice. If you are looking for lessons in business English, Cambly is the place to find all of those tutors. You can even find tutors that speak your language, and they are available, like I said, the whole day. I also have a promotion code that you can use now. If you go to Cambly and use IELTS 45, you can get a good deal. Go and check that out straight away. If you want to have more lessons with me, please take a look at the link in the description, and we can do more IELTS exam preparation. We can do conversation practice, grammar practice, anything you need. I want to say again, enjoying as much as we can. So until we see you in another live stream or in another lesson on Cambly, we're going to say bye for now.